Tanjiro's training with Sabito and Makomo played a huge role in Tanjiro's development into a demon slayer. But what if someone else was there to train him instead of Sabito? What if the person was actually Yoriichi's ghost? In this timeline, we'll explore what if Tanjiro was trained by Yoriichi instead of Sabito and Makomo. Before changing the timeline, it's important to understand why Sabito and Makomo's training mattered so much to Tanjiro's journey. They were not just teaching him sword skills, they were sharpening his mindset, his discipline, and his understanding of what it truly means to be a demon slayer. Sabito was the one who broke Tanjiro down and rebuilt him. He was strict, harsh, and unforgiving, because the real world of demon slaying would be even worse. Through Sabito, Tanjiro learned how to move properly, how to swing his blade with purpose, and how to fight while exhausted and injured. More importantly, Sabito taught Tanjiro to push past fear and hesitation. By constantly defeating Tanjiro in combat, Sabito forced him to face his own weakness and accept that kindness alone would not save lives. Makomo played an equally important role, but in a very different way. She refined Tanjiro's technique and helped him understand the logic behind each movement. She taught him breathing control, footwork, and how to stay calm under pressure. While Sabito trained Tanjiro's body and fighting spirit, Makomo trained his mind. She helped him turn raw effort into efficient skill, which later allowed Tanjiro to adapt quickly in real battles. Together, Sabito and Makomo created balance in Tanjiro's training. One pushed him through pain and fear, while the other guided him with patience and clarity. This balance is the reason Tanjiro survived final selection and continued growing stronger after becoming a demon slayer. Without this foundation, Tanjiro would not have had the discipline, resilience, or technical understanding that defined his journey in the original timeline. The story begins the same way as the original. Tanjiro returns home after selling coal, only to find his entire family slaughtered and Nezuko turned into a demon. Broken and confused, he tries to protect her, and soon encounters Giyu Tomioka. After seeing Tanjiro's resolve, Giyu sends him to Sekondi Urokodaki for training. Tanjiro endures months of harsh physical training under Urokodaki, learning the basics of swordsmanship and water breathing. Eventually, Urokodaki presents him with the final task, to cut the massive stone and prove that he's ready for final selection. This is where the timeline begins to change. In the original story, Tanjiro met Sabito and Makomo, but in this timeline, he encounters a young man standing near the stone. The man looks strikingly similar to Tanjiro's late father. He has the same calm presence and wears Hanafuda earrings identical to Tanjiro's own. This immediately catches Tanjiro's attention, making him wonder if the two are somehow related. Before Tanjiro can ask any questions, the man introduces himself and begins to observe Tanjiro's movements in silence. Instead of harsh criticism or gentle guidance, this man trains Tanjiro directly through demonstration. His swordsmanship is nothing like what Urokodaki taught him. Every movement is smooth, precise, and perfectly timed. There's no wasted motion, no unnecessary force. Unlike Sabito, who focused on overwhelming Tanjiro through combat, this training focuses on absolute control of body and breath. Tanjiro is taught how to move as one with his sword, how to let each strike flow naturally into the next. This method makes Tanjiro stronger, not just physically, but fundamentally as a swordsman. As the training continues, Tanjiro begins to notice something strange. The man's movements feel familiar, almost nostalgic. They remind Tanjiro of the Hinokami Kagura dances his father used to perform. The footwork, the rhythm, and the way the blade moves all feel connected to those memories. Tanjiro instinctively tries to copy these movements during training, blending them into his own fighting style. However, Tanjiro's foundation is still rooted in water breathing. His mind is fully focused on mastering the forms Urokodaki taught him, and because of this, he cannot fully grasp or master the unfamiliar movements. Even so, fragments of his training stay with him. Without realizing it, Tanjiro begins to grow far beyond his original limits, carrying the seeds of a much greater power into final selection. Eventually, the day of final selection arrives. Tanjiro enters the mountains just like in the original timeline, but his experience in this timeline is completely different. When he encounters the hand demon, there's no struggle and no emotional connection. Tanjiro does not recognize the demon and wastes no time fighting it. Using his refined swordsmanship and overwhelming control, he defeats the hand demon quickly and decisively. After surviving final selection, Tanjiro officially begins his journey as a demon slayer. He returns to Urokodaki, recovers from his wounds, and receives his Nichiren blade. At this point, Tanjiro is still using water breathing as his main style. However, something feels different. His movements are smoother than before, and his body naturally shifts into unfamiliar rhythms during training. Urokodaki notices this change but doesn't interfere, allowing Tanjiro to grow in his own way. Tanjiro's first major mission takes him into a town plagued by the swamp demon. Just like in the original timeline, Tanjiro enters the swamp alone to protect the kidnapped girls. During the fight, he realizes that water breathing alone is not enough. As he jumps between the swamp portals, his body begins to move on instinct. His footwork changes, his breathing deepens, and his sword follows a sharper, more direct path. Without realizing it, Tanjiro starts incorporating fragments of Yoriichi's movements into his attacks. The result is overwhelming. His strikes become faster and more precise, allowing him to kill the Swamp Demon far more cleanly than in the original timeline. After defeating the Swamp Demon, Tanjiro continues taking on missions across different towns. With every battle, he slowly begins incorporating the movements he learned from the mysterious swordsman into his water breathing. His footwork becomes sharper, his strikes more direct, and his breathing deeper and heavier. Tanjiro doesn't realize it yet, but his fighting style is slowly changing. The memories of his father's Hinokami Kagura begin surfacing more clearly, and during intense moments, his body moves on its own, as if following an old rhythm. This path leads Tanjiro to Asakusa. While walking through the crowded streets, he suddenly comes face to face with Muzan Kibutsuji. The moment their eyes meet, Muzan senses something deeply unsettling. Tanjiro has not fully mastered sunbreathing yet, but its presence is there, dormant and growing. This makes Muzan Kibutsuji panic and he disappears. Soon after, Tanjiro is attacked by the Ball Demon and the Arrow Demon. During this fight, Tanjiro is pushed harder than ever before. Water breathing begins to feel restrictive, unable to match the chaos of the battle. Remembering the movements he learned during his training, Tanjiro lets go of his fear and follows instinct. His breathing changes completely, his body moves with perfect flow and control. In that moment, Tanjiro fully unleashes sunbreathing for the first time. The difference is overwhelming. The Ball Demon is defeated effortlessly, its attacks unable to keep up with Tanjiro's speed. The Arrow Demon follows soon after, completely outmatched. Tamayo and Yushiro watch in shock as Tanjiro destroys both demons with ease. From this moment on, sunbreathing becomes Tanjiro's true style. Muzan, watching from afar, feels true fear for the first time in centuries. He no longer underestimates Tanjiro. Immediately, he orders the lower moons to hunt him down and begins experimenting to find ways to counter sunbreathing. Unlike the original timeline, Muzan starts moving much earlier, knowing that Tanjiro is a threat that cannot be ignored. After Asakusa, Tanjiro continues his journey and eventually meets Zenitsu and Inosuke, just like in the original timeline. Both are immediately shocked by Tanjiro's overwhelming strength. Even though they're the same age, Tanjiro stands on a completely different level. When they reach Mount Naragumo, Tanjiro's mastery of sunbreathing allows him to cut through the lower spider demons effortlessly. The father spider demon is defeated in a single strike, leaving Inosuke stunned. When Tanjiro faces Rui, he immediately senses the danger but does not struggle. Sunbreathing completely overpowers Rui's blood demon art. Tanjiro severs Rui's head before he can react. By the time Giyu arrives, the battle is already over. Even Giyu is shocked to see Tanjiro standing unharmed after defeating a lower moon alone. News of Rui's defeat spreads quickly through the Demon Slayer Corps. Some Hashira admire Tanjiro, while others, especially Sanemi and Obanai, begin to fear him. Soon after, Tanjiro was assigned to the Mugen train mission alongside Rengoku. This time, Tanjiro fights Akaza together with Rengoku. Their combined strength overwhelms him and he's killed. Rengoku survives and later decides to personally train Tanjiro, accelerating his growth even further. The story continues into the entertainment district. Tanjiro immediately decapitates Daki, forcing Gyutaro to appear early. With Tanjiro, Tengen, and Rengoku fighting together, Gyutaro and Daki are defeated without Tengen losing an arm. Tengen doesn't retire, leaving the Demon Slayer Corps stronger than ever. For the sake of the story, Tanjiro still travels to the Swordsmith village. Muzan, desperate to stop him, sends Kokushibo along with Upper Moon 4 and 5. Tanjiro fights Kokushibo alongside Muichiro and Mitsuri. For the first time, Tanjiro is able to hold his own against Upper Moon 1. Kokushibo hesitates after sensing Yoriichi's presence within Tanjiro and begins questioning his loyalty to Muzan. By the time of the final battle, the Demon Slayer Corps is far stronger than in the original timeline. Tanjiro takes on Muzan directly, while the other Hashira eliminate the remaining Upper Moons. Using the perfected 13th form of sunbreathing, Tanjiro kills Muzan long before sunrise. Casualties are far fewer. Tanjiro survives the poison barely, and Nezuko sacrifices her demon powers to save him. With Muzan gone and the core intact, Tanjiro finally finds peace. This time, Yoriichi's legacy is fulfilled through Tanjiro, not through tragedy, but through victory.